Hi, everybody. Welcome to my first webinar, which is starting an exercise routine over the holidays. My name is Miranda. I'm a licensed nutritionist, and I am totally getting over a horrible cold. So I apologize for my raspy voice, but I really felt strongly about this webinar. I had a lot of positive feedback. So I decided to do this anyway. So I hope you enjoy. I have a few notes that I wanted to address. Firstly, I'm founder of Thrive Nutrition at it's www.thrivenutritionmn.com, and I'm a licensed nutritionist with a very holistic ancestral approach, and my goal in life is to help clients live their healthiest lives. And then I wanted to just do a quick shout out to the next webinar. Hopefully I'll be feeling better by then. It's Beat the Bloat, which is Sunday, November 29th at 2 p.m. Also on December, there is a book club, and I know it's kind of short notice, but I'm having it on December 13th. The book itself is The Slow Down Diet by Mark David. And I know it's backwards for you, but this is what the cover looks like. There's also an updated version as well. But it's an easy read. It's wonderful. It really shows us how slowing down during this crazy time of year over the holidays is just what we need. And he gives us a lot of easy steps on how to follow that. And then lastly, if you want to meet up with other like-minded, healthy people who are in the Minneapolis Twin Cities area, I just founded a meetup group, which is Minneapolis Holistic Nutrition Group, and that's at meetup.com. So I think those are all of my notes. I wanted to thank you all for attending, and I will be going over my webinar, which is a PowerPoint. All right, so I'm doing screen share. All right, perfect. So this is, I just want to make sure this is what you guys can see. Yes. Present to everyone. Okay. So we developed a successful exercise routine over the holidays. It's super hard to find time for yourself over the holidays, and a lot of people will hold off on their goals on being healthier, especially over the holiday season, because there's just not enough time. But cool thing is, I am here to tell you that you can continue on with developing your exercise goals while you're crazy busy. I'm also going to talk about the psychology of starting exercise routines and why they're so darn hard to do. So I wanted to let you know that with every presentation I do, I have to give out a medical disclaimer. Basically, I'm not your doctor. I'm not here to tell you what to do or give you medical advice or diagnose you or provide treatment. Everybody has their own body, so make sure you're working with your doctor and honoring your body, especially when you start an exercise routine. All right, so we all know we should exercise. So why is it so hard to do it? So basically, we have Stone Age genes in a space age world, and we were able to survive as a species because our brain has been hardwired to avoid pain, seek pleasure, and conserve our energy. And that was to ensure survival and reproduction of the species. This means we did not evolve to like exercise. So back in the Stone Age, we needed to conserve our energy so that we could flee from predators and capture our food for survival, which predisposed us to really enjoy rest. Now, fast forward to today, we don't need to do any of those things. We no longer have predators stalking us, and our food is conveniently found in grocery stores. And then I also wanted, because I'm a nutritionist, I wanted to just plug in a little nutrition tidbit here. In regards to food, the food industry has really made a fortune because they know that we're hardwired with our Stone Age bodies to crave sugar. Sugar was very limited, pretty much to berries back when we were evolving. However, now that we're in this space age world, sugar is super cheap and plentiful, so they're able to really make a lot of money off of our old genes. Next, we also have what we call, there's a psychology pleasure trap. So I wanted to kind of zoom in over here to this grid or this chart on the right. It kind of looks like a roller coaster. So you have multiple columns, you have 3 zones. We'll start off here with the normal pleasure zone. That's where we all start off with. And I'll kind of explain how it relates to exercise in a moment, but I just wanted to visually kind of walk you through the chart. So you have a normal pleasure zone, then you have an enhanced pleasure zone, which goes down to normal pleasure, down to subnormal pleasure, and then it goes back up or normalizes to the normal pleasure zone. So what does this mean in regards to exercise? So a lifestyle that's mixed and with rest and exercise is part of a normal pleasure zone. So, however, when we have an extra sedentary lifestyle, because we're pre-hardwired to enjoy pleasure and enjoy rest, it puts us in enhanced pleasure. So it shoots us up to feel really great. Then we have this biochemical change in our nerves, which is called neuroadaptation. And it's where sensory nerves get used to a given level of stimulation. And this can have dangerous consequences with exercise and with eating. So basically what this means is we can get used to an extremely sedentary lifestyle, which then, because we're used to it, goes back down to the normal pleasure zone. So this makes it hard to start an exercise routine because any reintroduction to exercise can result in displeasure. Same thing goes with a diet high in junk food. If you start introducing whole foods, then even though you know that exercising is healthy and that eating healthy foods is good for you, you're actually going to feel displeasure from doing these things for a little bit. The good news is that there can be a full restoration to the normal pleasure zone once exercise is routinely practiced and becomes more of a habit. Thirdly, we need to talk about willpower. So willpower is like a muscle. The more you use it, the more fatigued it gets. And there was an interesting article that came out that talked about how it's more difficult to exert willpower today than it was for our grandparents. So think of all of the, the fast food industry that's happened within the last 70 years and our corporate jobs that keep us in cubes and, very sedentary, and we have cars and all of this wonderful luxuries. So the research then that showed people still have the same self-control as in decades past, but we're bombarded with a lot more temptations, requiring a lot more willpower. So that second bullet point says, willpower, like any muscle, you can't keep it flexed forever. So then the next question is, well, then how do we improve our willpower? We don't. Instead, what you need to know is that there's a willpower reservoir that's pretty shallow for everybody, and that's okay. So you just need to work within those limits by outsmarting yourself with 3 tools. The 3 tools are distract, the 20-second rule, and the third one is making decisions beforehand. Okay, number 1, distraction. So distraction works well to avoid the draining of our willpower reservoir, but only if that distraction is powerful enough to truly distract. The trick is to find a distraction that actually occupies all of your attention, such as reading or listening to a riveting book while out walking or listening to your favorite music while on the elliptical. If you're trying to avoid foods, then same thing applies. The 20-second rule. This is just simply identifying any habits you want to decrease and make it 20 seconds more difficult for yourself to access that habit. And it's really interesting. The author of The Happiness Advantage wrote about this in detail. And all it takes is just 20 more seconds to make something more difficult or more easier for you to be successful. So some examples for this would be moving the holiday sweets from front and center to the pantry, or in the pantry, to a bottom drawer in the garage. Another example would be taking out batteries in the TV remote and burying them in a sock in the sock drawer. And to exercise more often, make it 20 seconds easier for yourself. Instead of trying to figure out what to wear for your workout, make a habit of laying your clothes out the night before. Also, you can sleep in your workout clothes. So in the morning, you don't even have to think. You're up and out the door. Visual cues is also really important. So making sure that your exercise shoes, your yoga mat, your hand weights are out of the closet and in your line of vision. Promoting a healthy environment is also going to support you in your healthy endeavors. The last thing on willpower is making decisions beforehand. The holiday season is super busy, filled with lots of decisions. So whenever possible, make decisions before you actually have to make decisions. What does this mean? Well, even low-level decisions can drain your willpower reservoir. So that could be what color socks to wear, what type of pants to put on, apple or orange. Like those are actually slowly drain your willpower reservoir. So if you can, decide what exercise class you're going to go to the day before, or choose the type of exercises you're going to do, determine what days you'll be working out each week and what times. Have your breakfast ready the night before. So you literally just have to wake up, and then if you're wearing your exercise clothes, get up, eat breakfast, and then go work out. So it eliminates a lot of decisions that you would have to make in the morning. And let's face it, mornings, it's really hard to make decisions. Any decision is a big decision in the morning. Okay, so another component to starting a successful exercise routine is determining what motivates you. What this really comes down to is making it about something other than numbers. A lot of us, when we feel motivated to make healthy changes, we often link that with fear and doubt and anxiety, and also link our success to the numbers on the scale. When you are able to make your exercise routine more meaningful than numbers, it's really in your best interest, because it makes exercise a lot more fun, impactful, and also what's really important is it makes it a consistent part of your life. So there's some questions. There's just 3 questions that I like people to do when they want to make really any meaningful change in their life. And it's just asking yourself, why do I want to be more physically active? Or anything. It can be anything. But in this case, why do I want to be more physically active? Then you'll come up with an answer. And then you're going to ask yourself again, okay, so I want to be physically active for X reason. Why is that important to me? And then you'll come up with your own answer. And then you're going to ask yourself one more time, the 3rd time, why is that answer meaningful to me? And the series of 3 questions can really help you dive deep and discover something really meaningful. It's usually tied to a rooted emotion that can help you drive forward through difficult times. Another thing that can be helpful when starting an exercise routine would be finding a workout buddy. And I know this isn't always possible for most people. I myself, I don't typically have a workout buddy, but this can be helpful for some people. So it's helpful to keep it in mind. Workout partners can help you stay committed to fitness. They provide healthy competition, and they can also create a fun environment while you're working out. Some key notes about finding someone would be finding someone who shares a similar commitment level to you, or commitment level to fitness as you. Also, someone who might have a similar level of health, fitness, or ability. Another thing that you'd get from a workout partner would be an emotional connection. Your workout partner doesn't have to be your best friend, but it should be someone that you like and whom you wouldn't want to disappoint. Psychologically, if you feel like you have a responsibility and a commitment towards another person, you're more likely to follow through on that commitment. All right, so you're ready to get started. Where do you start? Small goals are smart goals. So a lot of people, when they're wanting to start working out, a lot of times people get really excited and they want to sign up for a marathon, and they've got all of these grandiose ideas. However, setting big goals, even though it's exciting, small, boring goals will likely lead to success. So it can be important to help you have a long-term goal in mind for exercise. And keep in mind that a long-term goal can change, but what's going to help you be successful is setting up small goals that help you work towards your long-term goal. So a small goal would be to meditate for 10 minutes or replace one unhealthy snack with raw veggies or walking 15 minutes per day. And then maybe working up to 45 minutes per day. The SMART aspect is an acronym, so it's going to help define your small goal. So a SMART goal would stand for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And I wanted to make a note that because the holiday season tends to be busier than the rest of the year, your exercise goals may be smaller than normal, and that's okay. And I just wanted to point out this quote here. It says, "No matter how slow you go, you are still lapping everyone on the couch." And that's true. All right, so I'm going to break down the SMART goal a little bit more. And this is for any person wanting to make changes in their fitness. So if it's to lose 5 pounds or 50 pounds, walk a mile, run a marathon, it all requires SMART goal setting. So the S in SMART is specific. Your goal should be clear and easy to understand. So if your goal is, hey, I want to start exercise routine. Okay, that's fine, but it's too general. So let's break it down into what are some ways you like to exercise or you want to try. How do you want to do it? Walk, swim, yoga, weight training. Pick specific activities for exercise. And then M, measurable. The goal, so let's say you chose to walk. A goal to walk is still not enough. So how are you going to track your progress, and how will you know if you've reached your goal? Making it concrete will not only help you stay on track, but it can also give you motivation along the way as you reach your mini milestones. So a measurable aspect of walking would be determining how long you're going to walk, or if you're going to go by minutes or steps or a number of walks per week. So looking more at frequency. The A is attainable. Sometimes when we set grand goals that we really aren't in place to achieve, we're actually setting ourselves up for failure and discouragement. Likewise, a goal that is too easy is also not very motivating. Only you know your limits. So someone who maybe is not walking at all, an attainable goal would be walking 1,000 steps per day for 1 to 2 weeks, and then bumping it up to another 500 or 1,000 steps for the next 2 weeks and keep progressing. It wouldn't be attainable for someone who's not walking at all to just try to get 10,000 steps a day, even though that could be their long-term goal, which would be fine. All right, realistic. Set goals that are important to you as far as where you are in your life right now. Don't set a goal that someone else is pressuring you to do. In the end, it's not going to be very motivating. So again, like I mentioned before, look at where you are right now and start from there. The last piece, which is probably the most important, is time-bound. So you're giving yourself a start date and an end date. You have a deadline. So I know a lot of people won't work on things unless they have a deadline. So that's why you're adding a deadline to each of your SMART goals. Include a specific date to start and a specific date to end. And knowing a deadline is going to help you keep you motivated as you get started. Okay, so now a few other things that we should address. There's happy exercise and there's stressed exercise, and both of them create a huge metabolic difference in your body. If you're wanting to exercise because you're driven by fear, that's not going to be healthy for you. Deep self-limiting thoughts do nothing but suppress your metabolism, even in the face of intense calorie-burning workouts. And so I'll let that sink in for a little bit. So we'll talk a little bit about how this is possible. Fear and self-limiting thoughts create stress chemistry, the fight and flight reaction in your body. It creates stress chemistry dominance. This results in increased stress hormones, cortisol, and insulin levels. These two things signal the body to store weight, store fat, and not build muscle. This creates the opposite effect of what you want from exercise. The bottom line is exercise and move from a place that inspires you, where you feel free and joy, and your body will love you right back by rewarding you with a hotter calorie-burning metabolism. Again, with over-exercising, this also puts your body in a stress response. Again, it's creating the opposite physiologic effect of what we desire from exercise when we artificially push ourselves past our own natural limit. If you're doing exercise you hate or that feels like a burden, this also creates that stress response with the same unwanted chemical cascades that ends up taking us down the wrong metabolic road. So what this means, if the movement or exercise doesn't feel good and doesn't make you happy, then don't do it. So what you can take from this is move in ways that you love. Stop moving if you're doing anything that's coming from force, self-rejection, self-hate, or self-loathing. Move in ways that give you pleasure, that make you smile, that are doable for you, ways that are truly make it feel good for you to be in your body. If you're the kind of person who has trouble exercising, then let go of any goals. Make the smallest baby steps possible and do any kind of movement. A quote that I really like is, "Baby steps are big for a baby." All right, another downfall people can have is expecting perfection. So I encourage you to stop. Don't expect it. Give yourself a break. We're all humans. We live a crazy life. Despite the best intentions, life isn't perfect and goals don't always get accomplished. Even the healthiest person you know is not perfect 100% of the time. So instead, to get away from that stress response, make the decision to be kinder to yourself, to expect and embrace imperfection, to be flexible and go with the flow of life. Give yourself the benefit of the doubt and take a break. To trust that you'll get back on track, and knowing that being off track is part of the process. Also, give yourself leeway in your goals so that you have more flexibility. So going back to the SMART goal, if you're coming up with the measurable aspect of walking, don't do it for 7 days. If it's something that's like an hour each day, like give yourself some wiggle room. Set your goal for 4 days or 5 days so that you have a few days to do other things. And then also, if you do get tripped up, then that actually is a great learning experience. And you can also uncover some unforeseen barriers that may need to be addressed when you set future goals. Okay, so we're talking a lot about exercise, but I wanted to kind of rein back a little bit and talk about the importance of non-exercise movement. So even before you consider putting together a regular exercise program, I would encourage you to take stock of how much you move throughout each day, at work, at home, during your off hours, even on your days off. And this is super important because this adds up more to just working out a few times per week. In fact, even if you exercise regularly, or even if you're like highly competitive and fit, you still may endanger your health by simply sitting too much. If you think about it, it's like, why do we exercise? We exercise because we're trying to replicate what our ancestors did. They moved around to a far greater degree than we do today, largely because they do not have the major technology we do today to, it's easy for us to obtain our food and have our shelter and get to places. So really our ancestors weren't really exercising per se, but they rarely sat down. So they moved all day long, and research shows that this is absolutely key for health. Studies show that engaging in consistent exercise does not counteract that adverse cardiovascular and metabolic effects of prolonged sitting. So non-exercise movement is now recognized as being a foundational piece of optimal health, even more so than exercising for an hour a few times per week. Now, ideally, you're going to do them both, but if you're currently sedentary, start by sitting less. Okay, so how do you do that? You're living a sedentary lifestyle. I would encourage you to look for opportunities. So some examples of that would be walking across the hall to talk to a coworker instead of sending an email, taking the stairs instead of the elevator, parking your car further away from the entrance, taking a longer roundabout way to your desk. Also, one thing not listed here, when I work with clients, I encourage them, for most people, that they're working on increasing their water intake and they find that they're going to the bathroom a lot more. This helps you be less sedentary. So this is another good thing about drinking more fluids, is you'll be walking more to the restroom. A few other ideas would be, See4Work has a walk station, which would be a desk with a treadmill underneath, or even inquire about getting a standing desk. There's some desks that can lift up to be standing height. Even putting a few textbooks under your screen at work can help people stand while they're at work. Another option would be taking a walk during your lunch hour, even if it's 15, 20 minutes. That can not only help you be less sedentary, but also have a significant impact on your mood. According to research, one of the on the afternoons of a lunchtime stroll, walkers said they felt considerably more enthusiastic, less tense, and generally more relaxed and able to cope than on afternoons when they had walked. So you're going to get a lot of benefits from walking, especially if you go outside. Now, I know in Minnesota it's really cold right now, but maybe it's picking one of the warmer days of the week to go outside and get some sunshine and vitamin D and fresh air. All right, so everyone is going to have an type of exercise that they like best. I'm just going to give you some of what science says is the best exercise, but this certainly does not mean that this is something that you need to do to reap exercise benefits. Okay, so I'm going to talk first about high intensity interval training, also known as HIIT, H-I-I-T. Like I mentioned before, many people avoid working out during the holiday season because it takes too much out of their day. But this is exciting. You can take advantage of HIIT, which helps you burn more fat more efficiently, and also in a shorter amount of time than you would standard cardio. So a HIIT workout is only 10 to 20 minutes in length, but it is so much more effective. This short, intense training protocol is one of the best fat-burning exercises there is. It also increases muscle mass and improves muscle fiber quality. If you compare the metabolic properties of fat versus muscle tissue burns 3 to 5 times more energy than fat tissues. So as you gain muscle, your metabolism, your metabolic rate increases, which allows you to burn more calories even when you're sleeping. Also, with high intensity interval training, you get EPOC, which is exercise post-oxygen consumption. And this means that you burn additional calories up to 48 hours after your workout. So this chart on the right, the gray area is a traditional cardio workout. You have a bump of your metabolism as you're working out, and then it just kind of drops off after your workout. With HIIT, it progressively increases and it stays elevated for a long time after your workout. The last bullet point, a typical cardio workout can take anywhere from 45 to 60 minutes. And for someone who's really busy, that's a significant amount of time. Evidence shows that by focusing on endurance type exercises, such as jogging on a treadmill, you may actually forego many of the profound benefits of exercise. Okay, so I know you're all dying to know, what is this HIIT? How do I do it? So there's some core principles. You can warm up for about 3 to 5 minutes, and then you're gonna exercise as hard and as fast as you can for about 20 to 30 seconds. And this means gasping for breath and feeling like you possibly couldn't go any longer. It's better to use lower resistance and higher repetitions to increase your heart rate. Then you're going to alternate to a recovery time frame of 60 to 90 seconds. You're still going to stay moving, but you're going to be at a slower pace and decreased resistance. And then you're going to alternate between those two. So you could do 20 seconds of your high intensity followed by 60 seconds of your slow moving rest phase. And you might have you might have longer rest periods when you're starting, and then it would slowly, the ratio would slowly change as you become more active. So an example would be 20 seconds of sprinting or high knees or burpees or whatever, jumping jacks, and then 60 seconds of walking, or you could do possibly like some strength training like sit-ups. But basically the goal is to repeat a variety of high intensity exercises until you reach a total time of about 10 to 20 minutes. And then you can follow with a cool down period. So if that seems pretty daunting, it can be. Know that going at your own pace, so someone's high intensity may be different than your high intensity, and that's okay. Just start at a time that works for you and at a intensity level that works for you. One thing that I notice when I do HIIT is that I start off with high intensity at 30 seconds and take a rest time of 60 seconds. But as I continue on later in my workout, I'm doing more of 20 seconds high intensity to 90 seconds rest, because when I do the high intensity, I want to give it my all. And sometimes I can only go for 20 seconds. I can't go for 30. You can also mimic HIIT with walking. So a lot of us are out of shape and we're overweight. So the idea of high intensity exercises can seem really daunting to even try. Also, elderly people may shy away from high intensity intervals because for fear of injuring themselves, and that is completely understandable. So you can modify this for walking. And basically, there was a study in Japan that showed the benefits of walking HIIT. So the program consisted of repeated intervals of 3 minutes of fast walking, aiming for the exertion level about 6 or 7 on a scale of 1 to 10, followed by 3 minutes of slow strolling. The results were very promising. After 5 months, the fitness and health of the older moderate group had barely improved. That was kind of like the control. The interval walkers, however, significantly improved aerobic fitness, leg strength, and blood pressure readings. Also, super slow weight training. So it's really important for everybody, to the best of your ability, to do some sort of strength training regardless of age. Having muscle mass is really protective as you get older. Especially for women, we tend to lose a lot of muscle mass more than men as we get older. Muscle acts as a protein store for us. And so if you are old and if you're older and you slip and have a fall and you break a muscle or a bone, Your body is going to pull from those protein stores to help you recover. And those people who have higher muscle density and muscle mass recover faster. So super slow weight training is also a great way to do weight training in a short amount of time. You're stimulating muscular adaptation that will improve the metabolic capability of your muscles and cause them to grow. So basically, you're slowing everything down, and by doing that, you're also creating this into a high intensity exercise. And so there's 4 or 5 basic compound movements that you could use. And so a sample could be pull downs, chest presses, compound rows, overhead press, and leg press or squat. And I'd encourage you to look on YouTube for some videos on how to do those things. You can do these exercises with either free weights or machines. And you want to try to do 4 to 8 repetitions, but not more than that. And basically, you're going to lift the weight as slowly and as gradually as you can for about 4 seconds. And then you're going to take 4 seconds to lower it. And you're not going to fully extend your limbs. It's going to be one fluid movement. And again, you're going to repeat this until exhaustion, which is around 4 to 8 reps. And just for caution and for reducing risk of injury, don't heave or jerk the weight to get 1 repetition in. What you can do is try to produce the movement even if it's not going anywhere for another 5 seconds or so to really fatigue out your muscle. And then your goal would be to then switch to the next exercise for the next target muscle group. And this is, again, 12 to 15 minutes. Very short. One of the last exercises I wanted just to point out is the barbell squat, which is considered the king of strength training exercises. And it really, because it's your largest muscle group, it rapidly pushes your metabolism up. And you're not only activating your legs, but also your core. So working out your legs in this fashion can also give you abs, increase your vertical jump, your functional strength, and your sprint times. It also can increase the strength of nearly all muscles in your body because of its powerful effects on stimulating growth hormone. Other health benefits by just the squat is reduced body fat, better sleep, increased endorphin production, which are natural painkillers, and increased bone density. Okay, so for my last slide, if you're not really quite sure if you want to be making changes at this moment right now in regards to increasing or starting an exercise routine, then I've just got a list of some questions that you can ask yourself that can maybe help you to determine, one way or the other, if the time is right for you to start an exercise routine. And so what I'm planning on doing with this PowerPoint is I'm going to be putting a link to the replay on the discussion board of the meetup group, the Minneapolis Holistic Nutrition Group. So you can have access to the PowerPoint and the presentation. If you would like the PDF PowerPoint, I can send that to you. Please email me at thrivenutritionmn, as in Minnesota, mn@gmail.com. And anyone who emails me within the next 48 hours, I will send the PowerPoint to them so you can have a copy. Okay, so that was my presentation. I wanted to thank you so much for your time. Hopefully it was helpful. And stay tuned for the next webinar, which is Beat the Bloat on Sunday, November 29th at 2. Thank you so much.